Yeah, acknowledge me. That's right. You acknowledge me. I am the revolutionary. I am the visionary. And my name is Ralph Williams. I am the host of the Ralph Report Exposed. And today, and yeah, what do you want to talk about? Let me talk to you. And today I have two things we're going to expose today here on the Ralph Report Exposed. But before we do that, we're in Studios 10 here in Berlin, Maryland. And we are sponsored by, yes, we are the Shore Connection Appliances or Shore Appliance Connection. And call them today at 410-749-2161, Shore Appliance Connection in Salisbury, Maryland. And we are sponsored by them today right here. They are a new studio sponsor, Shore Appliance Connection. Call them to ask for Bill. Tell Bill Ralph Williams sent you. They also have 3 locations in Delaware that you want to find out as well from them as it's when you call the Salisbury location. That number again, 410-749-2161. Today, and for many years now, it started in 2017. I had an apartment with the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh. I lived there for 8 years in an apartment building called the Caligari Plaza up in Pittsburgh. And what happened was, over the course of time, the building got out of control. The management there wasn't doing their job. A lot of criminal activity, a lot of different, stuff going on there. Some people should have been, kicked out, and were not. And the problem I have with a lot of this is, all right, and a lot of people with this is that now it's gotten extreme. And what I mean by that is I was on TV. We had a fire in the building, or I'm sorry, a shooting in the building. We had a fire first, then we had a shooting. The fire was a mistake made by this tenant who was cooking heroin and caught her apartment on fire. It condemned the whole 5th floor. And what had happened was the 5th floor was condemned. They had to put people up in hotels. And then, you know what Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh did with this girl, with this woman? They never evicted her. They moved her to another building. They gave her a voucher for a hotel. That's why today we are exposing the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh. But there also was a shooting there, which happened right after Christmas, the Friday after Christmas of 2024. I had gone on the news. I had called out Mayor Ed Gainey, County Executive Sarah Almirado, and I called out District Attorney Steven Zappala about what was going on in our building. Guess what was done? Absolutely nothing. All right. Today, it's extreme now. Not only am I calling out the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh, I'm telling you I told you so. Nobody believed me. Nobody listened. Nobody cared. Now, somebody who is a media talk show host in Pittsburgh, who is a well-known talk show host, who has never been called out to the carpet, and if he calls me out on his show, fine, good. I don't care. But I'm calling him out today because 3-4 years ago, I asked for help from him. And he claims that he's out here to help people. He helps people get new appliances and new plumbing. And he does these little walkarounds and, about the homeless downtown Pittsburgh and all this other stuff. But not one time did he ever help me out with anything. So now the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh, has gotten extreme. There's a woman who's living in the Arlington Heights section of the City of Pittsburgh. And the projects there, the project buildings, are owned by the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh. And it turns out that this woman has mold in her apartment. Now, she's gone to the health department. She has gone to, spoke to the CEO, Castor Binion, who I've been trying to get fired for the last couple of years now because of his lack of doing anything. I had an interaction with him personally a few years back when the East Liberty Family Health Care Center was opening up their new facility up in Lincoln Leamington section of the city of Pittsburgh. I was there for that because at the time I was on their patient advisory council. I was there. I was trying to talk to Ed Gainey about what was going on. He had other obligations, so he left. So it just so happens I ran into Castor Binion there, and I'm like, what's he doing here? And here, come to find out, they had some apartments above the building that the East Liberty Family Healthcare Center had bought, and they had some apartments for rent there, brand new. And of course, he's always making public appearances about new affordable housing or low-income housing apartments that are made through the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh, or brokered more or less. All right. So I says to him, Mr. Binion, how are you? My name's Ralph Williams. I says, I live at Caligari Plaza. And he said, what can I do for you? I said, well, here I have a list of some stuff here that I want to discuss with you about what's going on at Caligari. And before I could even get anything out, he hands me this application. And I said, well, what is this for? He said, well, I'll get you in an apartment in this building. He says, I'll bump you up. I said, I'm not interested. I want you to fix what's going on at Caligari. I'm not interested in living here. Nothing against you or anybody else. I don't want to live here. Then he says, well, I got to leave. And that was it. So there were some meetings that happened at the building and so about treating people with dignity and respect and all this other crapola, okay, as they say. All right. And so next we come up with this thing about how they're going to do this, and this, and we're going to fix this. And nothing was done. It was all this. All right. So before I get into Arlington Heights, I'm telling you the story about what happened to me. My wife got assaulted twice in the building, physically assaulted. There's been a shooting there involving two tenants whose son and grandson ended up being in the building when he wasn't not supposed to be. All right. And so the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh has this bad habit of just collecting rent and forgetting about everybody else. They talk a good line. If you check out their websites or if you check out their social media platforms, they talk this good line about how great their communities are and how great it is to live there. But what they fail to tell you, and you know they're not going to tell you, is that all their buildings are or have a lot of criminals in them that cause problems, selling drugs, prostitution, whatever. Okay? A lot of it. And today, on the Ralph Report Exposed, and every time, all my radio shows, like the one we did this morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., Exposed, the Ralph Williams Show, Exposed. We are exposing people who do people wrong. I'm exposing people who, and here's the thing that really bothers me about all this. I'm not getting any feedback from anybody on this. And I'm very disappointed in you because I thought maybe you might have cared a little bit more. I know a lot of people don't care. And I brought that up last week with the 4th of July weekend and everything. I don't think people even care at 250th anniversary of our country. I don't even think anybody has any patriotism at all. Nothing. Nobody cares. And, that has been lingering on for many years. Nobody cares. Since COVID, nobody cares. And our country did not rise when we needed it to rise, which was in, they rised for 2001, but 2020 we had COVID, nobody rised. Everybody just ran and hid, stuck their head in the sand and said, screw it, we're done. Okay? All right? So, Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh, Castor Binion, and yes, I'm doing this today. I didn't want to do this, but I have to. I have to do it. Because it's a disgrace. So I have to do it. All right? I'm getting ready to do it right now. I'm calling out Castor Binion, the CEO of the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh. Today you are exposed. And I'm exposing Anthony Chaffee. Anthony Chaffee happens to be the person that is the executive in charge of all these properties and the management of these properties. I'm calling you out today. I am exposing you because there's a woman that's living in Arlington Heights section of the city of Pittsburgh that is living in a housing project there that is owned by the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh, which no one has done anything about. I've gone down to city council, I've gone to both mayors here, and nobody's done anything to either fire Castor Binion, suspend him, and get rid of that executive staff, which Anthony Chaffee is part of. Northview Heights, another problem. They just built brand new houses up there, but you got current residents up there that have a bunch of mold in their apartments, floors coming through in their patios. Bobby Wilson and Tim Stevens and some of these other ones have all been involved in this, and nothing still has gotten done. Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh, two things. Either you don't care or you're lazy. All right? And to me, I think both of them. I think you don't care, and I think you are lazy. And if you don't like it, that's too bad, because, see, here, I don't live in your building anymore, so I can say whatever I want. And I did it anyway, even when I did live in your building. And now I'm calling you out right here today, Castor Binion, CEO of the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh, and Anthony Chaffee. And I know, Anthony, you're going to be mad at me, probably call me on the phone or text me and say, you're wrong. No, I'm not wrong. Okay? I am not wrong. Real soon here, I'm going to get into about Arlington Heights here. All right? This is what you get, Anthony Chaffee and Castor Binion. This is what you get. All right? And you get the gong because you're not doing your job. All right? You still, to this day, don't get rid of the troublemakers involved in some of these stuff that goes on in these buildings. So now there's a woman in Arlington Heights who has mold in her apartment. For 3 years, she's trying to get it eradicated. Nothing done. She even went to Castor Binion, called his office. Of course, he's going to do to her what he did to me. Absolutely zero. Went to then Mayor Ed Gainey. Nothing. I was lied to by Ed Gainey's Deputy Mayor Jake Pollock. Okay? He told me right to my face, we have to treat this very delicately. Delicately. It's either delicately, we can't do that, or nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. Respect and dignity. Oh, you want me to treat everybody with respect and dignity when they steal my packages, assault my wife, and terroristic threats aimed at me? Okay? Excuse me. Plus the problems in the building. All right, excuse me. So I don't want to hear it takes 3 legal steps or whatever. I don't want to hear it no more. It's now time for Castor Binion to be fired. Anthony Chaffee to be fired. The whole executive staff at the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh, to be fired. You are exposed today. You are exposed. All right? I'm exposing you because the woman in Arlington Heights who called about the mold is living in a tent. A tent. Because of what you've done. Which is nothing. That's the whole problem. She's living in a tent. Then you get malicious and you're going to turn her into CYF, Children in Youth Family Services, because her and her kid are living in a tent with something that you did. That you did. All right? No use speaking at Pittsburgh City Council because they don't care. I've spoken there many times about Castor Binion, and nothing has happened. All right? Okay? Nothing. Nothing. Now, my next victim of being exposed here tonight, and I don't want to do this, but I have to. My fellow media person, Marty Griffin, from KDK Radio, 10 a.m. to noon, 2 p.m. on KDK Radio, Pittsburgh. Why? Because you know why, Marty? You didn't help me when I needed it. And now, all of a sudden, because this woman's sleeping in a tent with mold in the apartment. I told you what was going on down there 3 years ago when you used to team up with Larry Richert on KDKA radio, and I called in and told you, you said you were going to help me, and you never did. I called out the mayor at the time, Ed Gainey. I called out County Executive Sarah Amarato and DA Steven Zappella on Action News. And you did nothing. Nobody did anything. Marty has never done anything to help me. He helps everybody else, but he don't help me. So now I have to do this because of you not helping me. Now, all of a sudden, you want to help this woman who has to sleep in a tent, and now all of a sudden your eyes are open about what's going on with Housing Authority City. I told you about that shooting. I told you about the arson in the building. I told you what was going on there. You did nothing. You didn't do anything to help me at all, and you never have. And you know what I find that as? Discriminatory. Because you discriminate against who you want to deal with. I asked you to help me with PCTV. Your comment was, there ain't no money there. Okay? But you're helping this woman now who had to reach out to you about sleeping in a tent, but you didn't bother to help me out when I needed it. Now, I get it. You've been sick. I get that. I've said prayers for you. I get that. I've supported your show, and I've supported some of your decisions. But now it's time for me to expose you, and you need to be exposed and called out right now because of what you've done. You've done nothing to help me and my family when I needed it. All right? Nothing whatsoever. So you are exposed tonight, Marty Griffin, host of KDK Radio. And you know what? If you're mad at me and you say things about me on your show, I don't care. Because you know why? You didn't care when I needed you. All right? You didn't care. Now, all of a sudden, somebody's sleeping in a tent. And again, I got nothing against for that woman. I'm glad. I'm glad you finally done what I should have done, what I've been doing for a long time, is exposing the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh. But now they need to be exposed after that lady has to sleep in a tent. All right? With her child because of mold and because the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh doesn't care. And if they did, they would do something. So they're doing nothing like they do in the city of Pittsburgh altogether. And yes, I called out Castor Binion today, and I will continue to do so until he's fired. I will continue. I'm going to call out Anthony Chaffee right now until he's fired, because you let this slide, Anthony. You dropped the ball on this. You are the executive in charge of all the properties for the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh. And you didn't listen to this woman when she talked about having mold in her apartment. None whatsoever. All right? She had a miscarriage because of this. You're lucky she don't get a lawyer and sue you. You didn't listen to me. You didn't listen to the mayor. You didn't listen to anybody. And all I kept getting was a bunch of excuses. Oh, we can't do that. Oh, we got to treat people with dignity and respect. There's a woman who handles, I don't know if she's still there or not. I'm not sure. I don't know. She handles the tenant relations. And she's sitting there talking about respect and dignity. What respect? What dignity? Nobody treats anybody with respect and dignity in any of these buildings. And it could have been cleaned up if you would have got rid of the troublemakers like I gave you a plan to do. You could have good people who are on the waiting list that are looking to get an apartment in there and get the troublemakers out. But you didn't do that. No. Oh, no, we can't do that. Because if we put them out on the street, they're going to be homeless. Well, that's too bad. They should have never bothered to commit crimes inside the building. And what bothers me about all this is, why can't anyone see this the way I'm looking at it? Because we are run down in Pittsburgh by a progressive government who, once again, doesn't care. And it brings to my point about voting out these progressives. Now, I know some of you out there just don't care because, well, I don't live in Arlington Heights, Ralph. I get it. Okay? exposed today. Marty Griffin, I'm exposing you because you know why? You let me down. You laid an egg. You didn't bother helping me out when I asked you for help years ago. And to this day, it took to this woman sleeping in a tent for you to do something about Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh. I came to you years ago about this. Not once, but many times, and you didn't care to do anything. Now, all of a sudden, you want to look at the property. Now, all of a sudden, you want to do this, that, and whatever, but you didn't do it when I needed it. When I needed it for my family, to keep my family safe. And I had to move my family out of Pittsburgh in order to be safe. You get it now? This is the Ralph Report Exposed. And today, we have just exposed the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh, Castor Binion, Anthony Chaffee, and I exposed Marty Griffin from KDK Radio. And all you pundits out there that don't like it, too bad. And if I lose friends over this, too bad. I'm exposing a guy who is a fraud. And he's a fraud because he pretends that he helps everybody and never helped me one time. Not one time. He has helped me. And I don't think anybody had the backbone to call him out like I just did right now. Okay? You are exposed today, Marty Griffin, and shame on you for not helping me out. But it took this woman to be sleeping in a tent with a child for you to finally step up and do something about Housing Authority of Pittsburgh, City of Pittsburgh. What about me? What about what I asked you to do? What about helping me out? You didn't. And I had to move and uproot my family to move out of Pittsburgh because of all this crap. Not just with housing, but all over the entire city with all the politicians and all the stuff that goes on. All right? That's right. You all get the gong today. All right, a couple of announcements, and then we're going to wrap it up here. Today, this afternoon, 2 to 3 p.m., Sport Corner Radio Show with me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudia on Luther Dupree. Claudia will not be part of the show. Neither will Luther today. They both have other obligations. It'll be myself and Smoking Jim Frazier. Great show today. We have a lot to talk about. It's on 1250 a.m. The Answer, 92.5 on the FM dial, and theanswerpgh.com. All right. And then at tomorrow, the new 2-hour edition of the Ralph Williams Show with Tony Moreno on AM 1250 The Answer, 92.5 on the FM dial. Here it is. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., the Ralph Williams Show with me, Ralph Williams, Tony Moreno. Lots to talk about. We're on for 2 hours now, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And maybe now, all of you out there who listen to the Big K will now understand what Marty Griffin's all about. Okay? Again, I apologize, Marty. I'm sorry. I had to call you out today. I had to expose you because you did nothing for me. Nothing. But now that a woman is sleeping in a tent with a child at the Housing Authority City of Pittsburgh Housing Complex, now all of a sudden you want to bring that to everybody's attention, but you did nothing to help me out when I needed it. And again, I had to uproot my family and get them out of Pittsburgh for safety purposes and many other things too, but safety purposes was one of the 10 things that I had to get out. And I'm going to do another top 10 because everybody who didn't watch my top 10 on my archive version of the Ralph's Opinion Show last May of last year, didn't watch it and check it out on my YouTube channel, I'm going to have to do another one because I'm getting a lot of emails as to why I left Pittsburgh. All right. And also don't forget on Monday, 2 to 3 p.m. on AM 620 KHB, the Ralph Williams Show. Here it is. And then this Wednesday, 2 to 3 p.m. on AM 860 WWDB, the Ralph Williams Show in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, the city that gives me a great brotherly love, unlike Pittsburgh. Here we go. My wife's birthday on Wednesday. The Ralph's Opinion Show at 7:30 will not be on July 15th, this coming Wednesday. No Ralph's Opinion Show, just to let everyone know. All right. Till next time, for the Ralph Report Exposed, I'm Ralph Williams, your revolutionary, your visionary. That's right. Acknowledge me. And until next time, have yourself a great one, and please, by all means, be safe. Thank you.